Well, all right. Can't even make through 30 seconds on this one.
Hey, that's what he gets for saying he's going to be here and not showing up.
Yeah. Now we'll get him back on at some point. And no, you and I go back and forth with doing our own sports pod with the Jelts, and sometimes we're lucky enough to get the three of us together to do our regular pod. But these are still my favorite. Whether it's me and you and him, whatever the combination is, we just kind of have fun with these. So I don't know. Do you got anything fun you want to just kind of throw at us and run with, or?
A couple things. So first of all, now this one, I hate to start off with wrestling because I feel like we lose.
Dude, it's WrestleMania season though.
Yeah, but I feel like we lose part of the audience as soon as I start mentioning wrestling or you start mentioning wrestling. But we got to mention, it is WrestleMania week. WrestleMania is in Philadelphia, and The Rock was late to his press conference today in Philadelphia. And when people said, I guess people were heckling him about being late, and he said, "You don't want me to tell you why I was late." And he was like, "Okay, fine. You know what? I'll tell you why I was late, and you're not going to like it. Because I was watching YouTube clips of Jalen Hurts losing another playoff game."
I mean, he's playing up the heel. I mean,
yeah.
Anyone with half a wrestling brain knows that. I mean, playing up the heel. It's a perfect way to draw cheap heat too.
Yep.
Because that's all you need right now is cheap heat, because you're talking about one weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's, I expected something like that because it's The Rock and he's smart, but it is. It's just cheap heat, just like McFoley always gets the cheap pop and says right here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Right. And so, the funny thing is, and I kind of hate to bring this guy up, but it just, kind of referencing a similar thing. So I was in an NXT show the night before the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and Velveteen Dream comes out wearing a Brady jersey. And we're in Nashville, by the way. So it's not like we're in an area that is obviously Eagle friendly or Patriot friendly. It's in the middle. It's Titan country, but and he just runs down the Eagles. But the whole point is that he's playing the heel role there. It's like he realizes Super Bowl time. What's the easiest way to show that you're a heel? Wear the jersey of the enemy, even though he's in a neutral territory, really.
Right.
Kind of, but everyone kind of hates the Patriots at that point. So everyone just wanted to see him lose.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and now knowing what we know about Velveteen Dream, it all just keeps making more sense.
So, yeah.
But
anyhow, that's why I didn't want to mention him, but there you go.
So let's talk about it. Let's transition from that into talking about another podcast, actually, which is kind of weird for us, but one podcast and one YouTube channel I want to mention. So the podcast obviously is New Heights, because really, that's what I listen to right now, that and the Sunny podcast. But dude, they had Schwarzenegger on.
I saw that. I saw a clip on YouTube or Twitter or whatever it was.
Awesome.
That was good. It was because they were talking about basically like who would you rather have, him or The Rock? And then Schwarzenegger, and of course, in his diplomatic governor ways, was like, we could work together.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try doing an Arnold impersonation, so let's not go. So I'll screw that one up. But yeah, it was good. It was funny,
Yeah, and I actually listened to the whole episode. It's really good. If you get the chance, check it out, because their that podcast is awesome anyway. And then having Arnie on there and just listening to them fanboy about growing up. Which, let's be real, if we had the opportunity to interview Arnold Schwarzenegger on this show, we would be doing the same thing.
What the funny thing is? We
Like,
won't even get the chance to interview Edward Furlong.
yeah, we won't get the chance to interview an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator. You know, well, let's be real. We couldn't have him on the show anyway because Richie would just sit there and make jokes about his last name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, that would end pretty quickly.
Yeah,
And I'm
we'd get
talking about some of
demonetized from life.
the, yeah, I'm not even talking about the real guy, even an impersonator.
Yeah,
He would just leave.
yeah, it's true.
Uh,
But
yeah.
the YouTube show, have you ever watched a show on YouTube called Now in the 90s?
Mm, it sounds familiar. So I'm sure I've seen something.
So what they do is they go and they say, all right, this day in 1990, whatever, these are the games that were released. And then they go through that week of video game releases. And they talk about the different games and they show like what it launched at as far as price, what it's worth now, and that kind of stuff. It's really freaking cool. And I think they've only been doing it for like 2 years or something like that. But they just announced that they're ending because they don't have the funding to keep doing it because it's three dudes that do it, and that podcast or not podcasting, but YouTubing and streaming and stuff is their main deal.
Mhm.
So they can't afford to keep doing that one. And the production value is really good too. Like, it sucks that we're losing that. But I highly recommend you check it out. Anybody that's a fan of 90s gaming and retro gaming, it's really cool to see what, oh, this came out this week. So like, for instance, if they were doing an episode today, it would be, all right, what came out on what is today, the 4th? Yeah, so April 4th, 1994. And that's what they do is they go like now in the 90s. So whatever today's date is in 1994. And they started, I think, in 1992. So I guess they started in 2022. And
Okay, so they're going back. They're going back 30 years exactly. Then.
right. And then they match it up to whatever the current date is 30 years ago.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So really cool concept, and they did it really well. They go through what like if there's like reviews from EGM or for GamePro or Nintendo Power or whoever. They talk about the reviews that they gave them. They talk about like different things during development that may have happened, that kind of stuff. And they talk about it's not just Nintendo, like NES or Super Nintendo or Genesis. They talk about Game Boy, Game Gear, TurboGrafx, Neo Geo, 3DO, CDI, all that stuff too. So.
And I do want to say this too. So you're talking the concept alone too. You're basically having to look back at old articles because for those of you that are our age or older, you realize that the internet was basically non-existent back then, and so you had to rely on publications, magazines, actual physical copies of things to know when this stuff happened. So even if you do some research, and I just quickly threw in just, hey, what video games were released April 4th, 1992, or actually I did 1994, excuse me. And you get like, your typical like Game Rants or whatever these websites are, they're not complete. They
Right.
have some information there, but you got to dive pretty deep. So yeah, that's very time consuming. I always appreciated that with historical, and I say that 30 years ago, being historical is kind of funny, but with a historical based podcast that, or at least, looked at things like that, because there's a lot of research that goes into it. So we don't do that at all. We,
No.
we do research, but sometimes most of the time we research on the fly.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, I'll tip my hat to that because that sucks. That's ending. Yeah.
There's a ton of content like on their channel. If you go and look, like, so if you ever want to check it out and, it's there. And I mean, it's not going anywhere, I don't think. So you should be able to see it, you know, into the future. But it's really well done. And I'm sad to see it go. But speaking of YouTube, Peyton has over 10,000 views of a video that he took last summer in Yellowstone with this weird ass Bigfoot statue thing. And he posted it 5 days ago, and it's already got 10,000 views. Now, for comparison's sake, we've been doing this for 4 years now. 5 years.
Yeah, for about 4 years.
How many episodes do we have?
Well, here's the funny thing. So, if you want to couple all of our episodes, which is over 200, by the way, and that runs the gamut between just our regular pod, Jelts, and whatever else we've done over the years. We have maybe a third of that in listens. Now, here's the thing, though. I think a listen accounts for at least listening to it for a certain amount of time,
Right.
not just clicking into it. So we'll take that for what it's worth.
Right.
However, though, that's yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I was like, what the hell? Like, how? I mean, granted, it's like a 15-second clip or something like that, 10-second clip.
Yeah, I was gonna say not even. It's 10 seconds, maybe.
Yeah. So, but like over 10,000 people have taken 10 seconds out of their day to watch his little video of him slapping this thing on the ass. And,
Yeah.
and dude, we're going about this shit all wrong.
Yeah, so we're saying we should start doing like 10, 15-second pods and just be done with it.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. More shorter equals more gooder.
That could be it. Could be it. I know it's funny though. I do go back. Maybe it's just a generational thing, because speaking of another pod, something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, and that's how Bruce got back into the business and all that. It's another Conrad Thompson one. There's a couple of episodes that I will listen to over and over and over again, and one of them was the Bob Holly episode, which they did 5-6 years ago now, and that's like close to 4 hours long. Like it's at least three and a half, something like that. But I will listen to it over and over again, and it's just because of the stories that are told are hysterical, and it's based off of basically like Bob's book, which is a good read, by the way. I've that's actually one I've read. But I'll listen to that one, and I'll listen to their episode about Jim Cornette, which just cracks me up because Bruce does Jim Cornette impressions on it. But
Yeah.
those episodes are like I said, 3-4 hours long. I can do that. I don't know that anyone in our, it's funny, like watching like a 2-hour movie with the kids or something. It's like, how many times are we pausing it or whatever? And it's like, maybe not because of them necessarily, but it's just funny though, like thinking about the things that we would do. And now it's like things are like those little clips, those little 10-15 second things. Boom, people are, I don't know. I find it funny too, though. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I'd be lying if I didn't say that, or if I said that I wasn't cracking up at TikToks and shit like that.
oh yeah, I
like,
routinely scroll through the Facebook ones that are not very long, 10-15 seconds, and it's in mine. It's funny because it tailors it to like what you typically watch. So mine are always some like idiots driving the wrong way, or just doing dumb stuff, or hurting themselves, or it's like this generation's jackass.
yeah. Well, and that's what, like, so there was that TED TV show that came out, right? And that's what made me watch it, was I kept on seeing clips. And I was cracking up at these little 10-15 second clips of this TV show. I'm like, well, shit, if I'm laughing this hard at just this little clip, obviously I got to give the show a shot. And I saw the first movie. I own the second movie. I haven't watched it yet, but like the clips that I was seeing were quality clips. That, and what was the other one that I was seeing a lot? I don't remember, but I've sent you stuff. Like I sent you that the one today where they were talking about the Asians being part of the
Oh yeah, the Robert E.
Confederacy.
Lee and with Bobby Lee, it was crazy. But yeah, you're the 20, 30, what 20, 30 second clip maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hysterical. Um, no, but it's funny the way you consume things, and you said it too. It's 15, 20 second clips of seeing Ted, TV show wise anyway, and drawing you to do that to watch it. Um, but you said that funny thing too. It's I've seen Ted. I'm not sure if I've seen Ted 2 either. Be honest with you.
Yeah, like I know, like I said, I know I own both of them. I've seen Ted 1. I saw that in the theater. I haven't seen Ted 2. I picked it up on sale for like $5 on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. Um, but no, speaking of TV shows, you and I got in a little chat last night. I think you finally picked up on Abbott Elementary. So you're digging that.
oh yeah. Yeah, Abbott Elementary is great, man. I had watched um so I don't have cable or anything. I had watched some episodes when I would go over and visit my parents. My mom would be either watching that or Big Bang. And I still, as much as I've seen of Big Bang, I still don't think it's funny. I don't like it at all. I can't get into it. But Abbott Elementary, I'm 100% on board with.
It's if any show that I've seen that's what quote unquote mainstream in the last 10 years, it's very fresh. The characters are just on point. And the fact that it's based in Philly, I mean, obviously helps
Yeah.
out quite a bit. But and also the fact that I work for schools, I mean, helps out too. Um, but it's just so good, and it's the thing I really like about it is that for the most part, it's a very clean show. Like I'm not having to worry about like anything like that's too like outlandish, which has been a problem to me anyway as a parent with a lot of television or whatever's out there, and that show's not at all. I mean, yeah, it dabbles into some deeper concepts at times, but it's just a very, very just good show. Reminds me a lot of maybe not as wholesome as like I don't know, like a Full House, Family Matters, though that era for us,
Yeah.
but very
It's not a
close.
TGIF show, but
Right, but very close,
yeah.
and it's still like, and it's so quick and it's so well done, and the some of the people I won't get into too much remind me of people I know, but it's so good, man. I love every second of it. I think we're a couple of episodes behind on the new season, but we've watched it up until basically the last 2 or 3 weeks. So looking forward to it. I don't know where you're at with it, but
I've seen episodes here and there. I haven't really gone in order, but the last one I saw. So as when we stopped overnight in Jacksonville when I was moving my parents, and my mom and her friend Nancy were watching it, and I had stopped in the room I forget why I went to their room for something, and I was sitting there talking with them, and we were watching it, and it was the Fade episode. And the ladies talking from Fade, which is basically like making fun of Dare, or a Dare analog.
yeah, yeah, basically what it is. Yeah.
And the one kid kept on like basically counteracting what they were saying, and the lady just goes, "Your mother has herpes," and I fucking lost it. Or your
It's so
mom has
good.
herpes,
It's so good. It's
and
good. Yeah.
so I go to leave, and my mom goes, "Hey, Bobby," and she just looks at. I go, "What, ma?" And she goes, "Your mom has herpes," and I fucking lost it.
That's awesome.
Because first of all, who the fuck expects to hear that from their mother?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I'm fairly certain it's not true. I don't, but it was good. It was good. That show is great. That Brooklyn Nine-Nine is fantastic. Um,
I'll have to catch in. I see. That's another one I've seen here and there. I've always wanted to kind of dive in. I have a weird thing with Sandberg. man, like I really like him, but I small doses. Like, I just got to be real careful with how much I subject myself.
Yeah, like I was watching that hardcore up until I think right up until the hurricane uh in 2022. And after like when that happened, I just kind of fell off because there was so much stuff going on and I haven't gone back. So I reached like a certain point in the series, which I don't even remember where. I don't remember exactly where I was in the series, but I need to go back and finish it out. Um, Great show though. I love that show. New Girl, I was watching again. One I got pretty far in, and I don't remember exactly where I stopped, but I need to go back to that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the cool thing. A lot of these, shows, especially the ones that are more, were on network, they're available on Hulu or whatever, streaming service that's out there now. So you're pretty easy to binge. If you, obviously if you have access to the service. But I don't know, my only thing is like timing, so like my time available, I'll sit there and like, I caught up this past week on Dark Side of the Ring.
Nice.
Because that's what I like to watch. And then I look at it like, "Man, I really want to get into this show, but it's like, maybe not wholly appropriate. So I'm gonna be very careful. And then by the time I get to sit there and watch it, I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed. So
Yeah,
I value my sleep more, and I do that more as I get older, I guess.
yeah, and that's
Or I want to play a game or do something else, or uh, you know, documentary or movie or something else,
right.
hits, and it's like it just kind of takes away from, Or the other thing too, I noticed is like you get into a show, like you said, you like kind of step away for whatever reason. I find that it's like you get into a show and it's like, sometimes you're only into it for 2, 3 episodes. It's like, okay, it's pretty decent, but it's like, you know, and then you kind of just walk away,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Um,
um,
Another one that I've been watching. Well, it's the season finale for season 2 just uh went up. Is Invincible on Amazon? Which are you familiar with that one at all?
mm-mm.
So it's the dude that did The Walking Dead. It's his superhero book, and he actually had a crossover with Spider-Man at one point, which obviously we're not going to see in the show, but it's a really good. It's a really good show. The premise is cool because it's like Superman kind of like his so the whole deal is it's about this teenage kid. He's still in high school. He's in his senior year of high school, and his dad is the world's greatest superhero, Omni-Man. And so he comes to Earth and he ends up turning on Earth, essentially. And he kills their version of the Avengers or Justice League, whatever you want to call it. And his son his son fights him. And he's like eventually Omni-Man's like, well, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna kill my son because his son's not stopping.
Right.
I'm just fighting and fighting and fighting. And he basically there's a scene where he grabs the back of his head and flies him face first through an entire subway car, like a subway train. And he just splatters people the whole way through the train
Hmm.
and like destroys a city and just it's like a huge brawl. And then finally he leaves Earth and it follows that whole storyline. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
Um I highly recommend you watch it. Um
Yeah, it
when
sounds really good. I've heard of it, but I didn't really know about it. What
Yeah.
was concept or anything. So
And it's animated, so it's not, they can do a lot of stuff that you can't really do in live action. Um,
right.
and then speaking of animation, I've been watching X-Men 97.
Yeah, I know we chatted about that here a little bit within the last couple of episodes, anyway. So you still digging that? I know they release what every Wednesday.
Yeah, every Wednesday. So yeah, it's still going strong. I've actually started going back and watching the original series too.
Oh, cool, cool. What now? Is that available on anything or?
Yeah, that's on Disney Plus.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. No, I'll be honest. The only time I throw Disney Plus on these days is for The Simpsons. So
Yeah, I need to watch Echo, and that came out a while ago, but they brought Deadpool back in that and the Kingpin, and they're filming the new season of Daredevil. It's gonna be called Daredevil Reborn, and they're actually filming scenes with the Punisher right now. So
hmm,
John Bernthal, who played the Punisher in the Netflix series, is joining this cast as well.
hmm, cool, awesome,
Yeah, so
cool, cool, cool. Yeah, no, the I just kind of wondered too now with this whole thing we've talked about here before with Disney Plus and Hulu kind of merging. I don't know what is that their whole game is to keep these apps separate or what's the end goal here?
so the deal is they're going to eventually merge Disney Plus and Hulu into one app. And I don't know what the hell I still don't remember what it's going to be called, but they're going to merge the two. They're working on it now, and I don't know what it's going to. I don't know how they'll separate things, how they'll curate things. It's going to be interesting to see how that all turns out. But I guess they've kind of got a lot of redundancy in their server space right now.
Yeah, I kind of know. So Disney Plus historically their app was blue color scheme. Hulu's been green. If you go on Disney Plus now, they've updated it to a teal, so it's kind of a blend. I've
Yeah,
noticed that. Their interface is identical using the PlayStation app, and then I have the app on a Sony television. And you would think that the apps would be that they are similar looking, but there are differences.
yeah,
Um, oddly enough, go figure there. But it's really through and through still looks like Disney Plus. The only thing that's different is they've added the Hulu content, or at least things like Abbott Elementary or whatever. And then the color scheme is a bit different. That's really it. So to me, looking at it on that side, I could see them just leaving it alone with that. To me, Disney's obviously a much more recognizable name. That's what you would use, and you would eventually sunset Hulu. Hulu is to me only a known name for streaming because it was one of the first outside of Netflix, really, in that regard, back what in the 2000, what, 8, 7, 8, whatever it was.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I can look that up real quick.
I still remember the original Hulu ads with Dennis Leary, and he was an alien. So like he'd be like, "Yeah, watch Hulu. We're definitely not brain sucking aliens trying to," or something to that effect. Like, and then you would see like a weird ass tentacle come out from under his shirt collar.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Hulu launched in October of 2007. As far as streaming, uh, I think yeah, October 2007, and then well, I say that yeah, still October 2007. I was trying to figure out Netflix went in, I believe, the same time, right? Yeah, January 2007. I knew Netflix was like basically first of the game as far as major players that made a. I'm not saying that they're the first, so I don't want to get. Not that we're going to get anyone to listen to this, but I don't. To me, as far as major players that went streaming, that were a known entity, they were like the ones. I know didn't Blockbuster try it,
Yeah, Blockbuster tried it.
and there was some others that went that direction, but Netflix was already an established video business. They were renting DVDs for years at that point, and then they launched a streaming service. And the streaming service was this was the crazy thing, and you remember this. I mean, you could watch it on the Wii because you could get a disc for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was wild if you really think about how far that goes back. And to this day, most televisions that you buy have a Netflix button. That was your gold standard, really.
Right.
Hulu, to me, though, going back to that conversation between the Hulu Disney merger, Hulu to me is only known basically because it was one of the first major players. I could see that easily being sunset. Like, you could have a spot on the Disney Plus app that has archived Hulu created content because they again, like every other service, they had their own shows and their own movies. Um, but other than that, I don't know what else you would really maintain the namesake for. I, I guess unless you're just trying to do what Google did whenever they bought YouTube, to separate that property. I don't know. You know what I mean? I just
Right. So let's see. Basically, if you pay for both Hulu and Disney Plus, either individually or via a Disney bundle, you will now see almost all Hulu content in the Disney Plus app. If you do pay for both, you can still just watch Hulu shows in the Hulu app and Disney Plus shows in Disney Plus. Let's see. So Iger has touted a one app experience. It's not a merger. Okay, so this is from Vulture as of March 27th, 2024. So it looks like
they'll keep it separate for now.
for conscience sake, one app experience in December, a beta launched. Wouldn't actually be. Iger was sure to clarify that Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus wouldn't actually be going away. So yeah, essentially, download new app. No new downloads. ESPN Plus will remain a separate entity.
Now that I could see. ESPN is a long-standing sports brand, so you could keep that separate. You don't have to brand because I think that would just be confusing.
Yeah,
You know, and I guess in my head, and the reason why I kind of frame it that way, as far as Disney being a more obviously prominent name, is that now to me Disney's known for streaming, so you really don't need the Hulu branding,
right.
in my opinion. Because now Disney's not known like when we were growing up, it was like, well, it's the animated, it's the kid movies. I think that's grown beyond that.
Yeah.
We all realize that. We all recognize that.
Well, they swallowed everything up. They own Marvel. They own Star Wars. They own
right.
They.
So you own all these properties that cater to people that are, not just kids anymore. They're talking about people that are our age or older. So you've got that's why I don't, to me, I don't know that Hulu has much standing as a brand anymore. That's just my opinion. I'm probably wrong. But ESPN though,
Well, and I could even see Disney selling off ESPN at some point. Honestly,
really,
it's not like ESPN is really. They're not really profitable at this point.
Yeah.
You can watch all the budget cuts that they're making and all the talent cuts that they're making. You can tell with the different contracts they've signed for the exclusive rights to the NHL, to certain bowl games, to Monday Night Football. Was it Monday night or Sunday night? I think it's Monday night.
They have Monday night, yeah.
Yeah. So, with all this money they're putting out for that content, and then with cable, people cutting the cord with cable and everything, I still don't think that they're drawing. I don't think that they're making money. Like, well, let's find out. Like, I can't see them being super profitable at this point.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. How do you differentiate their profitability between the fact that Disney is their primary owner? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I guess you could, based on just looking at their but it's like you're under the same umbrella. So, um, to me, it's almost like that whole when Turner owned WCW
Yeah.
deal, where WCW was profitable to a point, and then it wasn't, but they kept pumping money into it anyway. So, it,
So, all right, here you go. So it's profitable, but it's it delivered $2.9 billion in profit.
still seems like quite
That's
a
pretty
bit.
profitable, but here's the deal. ESPN delivered 16 billion in revenue and only 2.9 billion was profit. And I realize
Mm,
I'm saying only
right,
for multiple billions of dollars.
right. Because at the end of the day, you're looking at your top line percentages and whatever else.
Right.
I do have before we close up shop though. In the same vein, I'm just curious because you and I have talked about this before, and it's always been an aggravating thing to me. So I have been a long-term subscriber for MLB.TV. I was very happy that a few years ago they decided to go to the one team package, and it was a few dollars cheaper than buying the entire thing. But I've been accustomed to paying for $100 or more a year to watch all the Phillies games, or at least so I thought. There was a time uh, where I'm at in the country that blackout restrictions still apply based on local TV deals and other national TV deals and whatever. I would lose Cubs, White Sox, Cardinals, Reds, Braves games. And the problem being when you lose the Braves games, um, they're in the same division.
Right.
So there's 18 games a year out of a 162 game season automatically that couldn't be able to watch. And then you start adding in Cubs, Reds, White Sox, potentially. They wouldn't, not necessarily they would play them every year, but the interleague stuff has been going on for quite some time. So now you're adding in another 12 to 15 games. I was losing potentially a quarter of the season, paying all that money. And it's like, look, I'm not going to sit there and it's like, oh, yeah, you'll have availability to watch this game 90 minutes after it finishes. I'm not going to do
Who
that.
gives a shit?
The social media. So I'm not going to just play dodgeball here with social media and not. So
Right.
now it gets worse because now fast forward to last year. Now you have um, ventures like Apple TV, which now have bought exclusivity rights to air Friday games, much like a Monday Night Football. And guess what? Exclusivity rights mean just that. Guess what? I can't watch. And so, because the Phillies are a hot commodity, I think we lost out on 2 or 3 games last year just because of Apple TV deal. I don't have Apple TV because
Right.
I already have enough, and quite frankly, I think I have too much. And it's like I pay MLB for 162 games. At best, I might end up with 135 or 140. I know that sounds really, I don't know, like petty, but if I'm paying to watch everything, I expect it to be like a Sunday ticket. I want every game.
Right. No, dude, I 100% back you. And I ran into the same problem with the NHL ticket back in the day when it was NHL TV. And we would get out of the 82 games, we would get like, I don't know, 50, maybe less. Because anything that was on NHL Network, anything that was, if it was in Tampa or Florida, we weren't getting it. And and no channels. Florida, fucking hockey is such an afterthought here that it's not like we were getting, we weren't getting to watch the Lightning, the Flyers and the Lightning, or the Flyers and the Panthers. They were replaying old college football games instead of playing the currently being played hockey games. So no, I get it 100%. It's
Yeah.
annoying as fuck, and it's ridiculous that, like, look, at the end of the day, you're streaming for a reason. So why do you still have to obey by the or abide by the blackout rights?
Exactly. And I can remember buying into a subscription to MLB TV with Nick when we were in college. So this goes back 20 years now, and we're sitting there watching on a computer. Because obviously that was like the precursor to streaming. If you really want to get into it, they were the first.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we can get into a whole other conversation, whole other episodes as to that's the reason why the WWE network people initially picked off the MLB people to figure out the streaming part because they knew what they were doing. I just find it funny that after all these years, and to me, MLB streaming is still seamless. Like, yeah, there's issues at times, but as far as like bar none, the best, they have it. Their apps are the best. They're clean. The streaming's the best. They have multiple feeds. I mean, they just get it. But then you run into this exclusivity thing, and every year I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I still do it anyway because I'm sucker. But I just it's aggravating. It's just I don't know. I think maybe MLB is probably headquartered in Dallas, isn't it?
You know what? They should be. Oh, speaking of, real quick before we, like you said, we're going to close up shop here because I know I'm fucking exhausted and you probably are too. Did you see that the mayor of Dallas is trying to recruit the Chiefs?
So yeah, that's a funny thing. We're gonna have to dive into that on something. The taxpayers of Kansas City rejected rejected a tax to build new stadiums. So
yeah. So that means the Royals and the Chiefs are potentially free agents, and it's fitting that the front runners in Dallas want to get a new football team because theirs sucks.
Where would they send the Cowboys?
Who gives a fuck?